for Memory Max. Volkswagen. Volkswagen Automobiles is very successful in Japan. There has been automobile companies, to name Japan, a closed market. Volkswagen is Japanese #1 imported car through it only controls very little of Japan's market share. Volkswagen is on the way to becoming the biggest automaker in 2018. Volkswagen is very likely to become the first importer car in Japan to sell over 100,000 automobiles. Other companies such as Ford, Dodge, Chrysler, Chevy, Cadillac have given up in trying to competing in Japan. All three have said that Japan is a closed market. All three of the Detroit brand sold a little over 10,000 units in the 9 months of opening the market in Japan, whereas the Volkswagen Group sold 66,000 cars the first 10 months in 2012. A major problem for Volkswagen could be facing the size of the car. Another problem, Japanese people don't like big cars. They want smaller cars. They live in small apartments, have small vehicles, and everything they do is smaller. The Japanese and auto industry is ruled by domestic brands such as Toyota, Nissan, and Honda. Maybe European and American brand automobiles have tried competing in Japan, but just cannot get the hang of it. Most international automobile companies have even named Japan a closed market. The only foreign automobile company that seems to be making a profit is Volkswagen. Volkswagen is proving the theory of Japan being a closed market wrong. They have been the #1 imported car since they have entered Japan. The Japanese culture enjoys little cars. Japanese live in very small apartments, like I said, little property. Japan is a highly populated country that has learned to adopt small things. That would explain why Detroit's big three have given up in Japan. The Americans do not have small cars. Here in America, we enjoy having gas guzzlers, trucks. Kia, a huge automobile manufacturer in Japan, controls 33% of Japan's market. Kia, K-E-I, Kia, specializes in small cars. Volkswagen is a company that widely known as producing luxury automobiles. Volkswagen needs to change their strategy to producing smaller cars and compete with Japanese giants. Volkswagen released the Volkswagen Up. The Volkswagen Up, and it was a huge success, selling 3,000 units in the first 3 weeks. Volkswagen needs to keep producing smaller cars. It cannot just depend on the Volkswagen Up. Also, customers that did buy the Up have not even received them yet. Volkswagen sold over 3,000 units in December, but there are 6 months delivery wait. Volkswagen needs to deliver their product faster before the Japanese consumers turn their back on them. A potential problem for Volkswagen is there are American companies such as Ford catching up to Volkswagen's trends. Ford is also designing a small car that it plans to compete in Japan. So knowing that Volkswagen is the only one that's strong in Japan, Ford is now trying to create something to enter the Japanese market. Even though that before, Japan has always been a closed market for the three big auto manufacturers in the United States. Volkswagen's new market strategy is aimed to breaking down the walls between domestic and imported cars. The CEO of Volkswagen in Japan is seeking to expand the scope of its target market, win over more customers who have traditionally who have in the past stuck with homegrown car makers. The German automaker plans to open 60 such branches by 2018, mainly in relatively small cities where its sales have so far been tended. This will increase the number of Volkswagen dealers in Japan to 333 from the current 247. Volkswagen has also made a contract with Nissan for Nissan to produce 60,000 Volkswagen vehicles in a year in Japan. Hopefully, Japanese consumers will see Volkswagen more as a homegrown automobile instead of an imported vehicle. Overall, Volkswagen is doing a great job in competing in Japan. Volkswagen market shares is sure to increase with more production of smaller cars and finally reach the 100,000 mark. And that is Memory Max.